Hey everyone, it's Bevan here, and Jill, and we're sitting in the Cozy Bay section of the iSimangaliso Wetland Park. For now, what I wanted to do was just do a catch-up from where we left off last, which was at Hluhluwe iMfolozi Game Reserve. Since then, we've had quite a hectic week, I'd say. If I were to describe this week, I'd say two things about it. One is that it's been a week of extreme weather. There was a southerly wind that came out of nowhere that blew for about 5 days straight. It made camping a bit of a nightmare, if I'm honest. Blew our tent away. We pretty much had to camp on the porch of the reception at one of the reserves. And then the second thing I'd say about it is that it's been a week of surprises, and I mean that in like the good sense. We had expectations of certain areas, and we got there, and kind of it never really happened that way, but it happened in another way that was totally unexpected, and in some ways almost better. So it's been a week like that. So to start off with, we were headed east from Hluhluwe iMfolozi to a place in the iSimangaliso Wetland Park called False Bay. False Bay is kind of a thorn-felt, open savanna, sand forest kind of mix, and it's right on the western banks of Lake St. Lucia. Obviously, with the drought situation at the moment, the water's receded quite a bit, so we weren't really sure what to expect there. In fact, I didn't expect to find much there, if I'm honest. But we got there, we arrived at the Wildebees Ecolodge where we stayed, and the guys there from Hluhluwe Horse Safaris took us out for an evening ride down to the lake, which was actually epic. I quite enjoyed that. It was quite a cruisy evening. Then the next morning, we went out on a guided hike on what's called the Mkhuze trail, and that was inside the actual park. Now for me, I thought this was just going to be a hike. Turns out though that our guide knew literally every nook and cranny of this bush. He knew every plant, he knew every insect, he knew every bird. It's almost not fair to call it a hike. It was like an education. I felt like I'd learned more in that one little trip through the bush than I have in the last 2 years. So it was absolutely unbelievable.
Just throwing it out there. Yeah, this is not a honey ant. This is actually a stink ant. Yeah. So they don't really bite or sting.
And then from False Bay we headed north to the Mkhuze Game Reserve. Mkhuze is a game reserve that Jill and I have both been to before, so we had some expectations kind of going into this. For me, that landscape is really characterized by that red, almost clay sand forest and the Nsumu pan and whatnot. So we kind of thought, you know, Mkhuze was going to be all about game driving, and that was that. Turns out there's a fig forest walk that we didn't really know about until this trip, and we did it. And that was, it's kind of hard to say. Every time you do something new, you're like, that's the highlight of the trip. Yeah. But that was one of the highlights of the trip, without a doubt. The fig forest is a section within the reserve. You take it on a guided walk with an armed guard, and he's obviously very knowledgeable of that area as well. And the thing that absolutely got to me was encountering an organism that is 1,000 years old. We got up to this one tree, and our guide said, this is the oldest tree in the reserve, and it's estimated to be over 1,000 years old. And when he said that, I was like, wait, what? It's an absolutely humbling experience. I kind of felt like I was in Jurassic Park the whole time. You know, you walk down the path and you expect like a velociraptor to jump out or something. It really felt like a sort of land before time. Yeah, it was actually quite cool. If you're gonna look for like that unique thing about places, I'd say Mkhuze is unique selling point is that fig forest walk. It was unbelievable. And then our last sort of stop in terms of this catch-up was Sodwana Bay. Now, you probably don't need us to tell you that Sodwana Bay is a world-renowned dive site. I think it's a top 10 site in the world. The coelacanth was discovered there, I think in 2000, off Jessa Canyon. So I mean, this is a diver's dream, absolutely, and that's what we thought we'd do. I'm a newbie as far as diving goes, so I did a pool certification. Jill's dived quite a bit before, so she did a sort of refresher. We were all prepped, ready to dive. But as it turns out, this extreme weather I've been going on about had other ideas. I think in the 3 or 4 days we were there, no dive boats launched that entire time. So yeah, pretty extreme. But the flip side to that was all that extreme weather created some of the best sunsets I've seen in a long time. The beach was just awash with color and light. Every evening we went down to the beach and just watched the sunsets. So yeah, I guess that kind of brings you guys up to scratch. We did go from Sodwana to Mabibi, and as I say, now we're in Mkhuze Bay, but we'll catch up on that a little bit later. Yeah, Jill and I are still having a good time, still living in the remnants of our tent after all the weather, but yeah, all going well. So I hope you guys are all keeping well, and keep following us along, and we will see you all on the road, or off the road. If I have anything to do with it, we'll be off the road more than on. But anyway, cheers guys, we'll chat to you later. So we're at Sodwana Bay. There's a man playing frisbee with himself. There's an ocean going crazy. There's a fisherman that hooked himself. And there's an awesome evening going on. I'm entertained. How's this walk to the hide here? Just, if I see one non-human track on this bailing.
Just so we remember these guys.
These guys have been our nemesis. They've literally been in the way of everything. Try to get around them with Hluhluwe. They were in the way. Stuffed up Thomas. Rode into a rock. Got them here. They've just been in the way the whole time with their gigantic man truck.
Yeah, this is the view we've seen way too much of.
No, but normally this thing, oh gosh.
Oh wait,
this thing is like taking bush down. What? This thing's way too big.
And now?
I don't know what he's doing.